It's Sue and Sammy from Aging Joyfully. So, you've lost your job. What next? What action should you take? Today's environment, so many people are losing their jobs. I don't know what the correct numbers are. I've heard so many, but one of the latest job reports said that they adjusted the month of June just recently, and in June, I believe they said it was a negative 13,000 jobs, whereas August, we only gained 22,000 when we should gain roughly maybe 180,000. So the labor report is pretty dire looking. Many of us have lost our jobs. I myself did not lose my job as I haven't worked in several years. Steve did lose his job. The first work day after the big beautiful bill passed, he lost his job. It was a total shock to us. This was an industry. He entered this industry after losing his career job in the Great Recession. He switched over to this profession thinking it was a profession, first of all, it's pretty low paying. It's a physical job. Most people don't want to do it. And he thought he could last until retirement. Originally, he started almost 10 years ago at 20% of his pay during the Great Recession and worked up to half of his pay. I was finally thinking, wow, we're going to make it. We may actually be able to retire. When he came home that day in July and said, I lost my job. So what do? What steps do you take? He had been caught in reorganizations 4 other times in the 35 years we've been together. So he has been caught in these reorganizations where companies reorganize to save money. It has nothing to do with work performance or anything. I believe that companies actually will hire people who are caught in this cycle because psychologically, and this is my own personal thought, I believe it gives them a sense of comfort in their own conscience that this person's been laid off so many times that they don't feel wrong in hiring somebody they know they're going to lay off sometime in the future. I believe this with homes too. When you purchase a home, there's some homes that have had many, many different owners. And somebody who plans on staying there and they're going to take care of their house, they're not going to purchase this home. But somebody who's transient and says, I'm going to be here 2 years and then move on, they'll purchase this home. So you'll see some homes that they've had many, many different owners, whereas some homes have only had 1 or 2. I believe the same is true with jobs. That Steve was caught in that cycle of people feeling it's okay. He was hired by a company in Pennsylvania who was required by the board to hire somebody. They knew they were going to lay him off in 6 months. He had no idea. And they felt because he had lost his job, that's okay. We have a friend who's going through this right now. She's had a few jobs and then has been looking for a year and can't find a job. So I believe psychologically you get caught in that. But what did we do? Well, we were in complete shock. I know that day the first thing we were concerned about was health insurance. Because we are in our 60s, we were concerned, are we going to lose it? I mean, with COBRA, you have 60 days to sign up, and they'll backdate it to that day. But we kind of panicked. And we're both healthy. That's the thing. We don't have illnesses that we need to be treated or insulin or things like that. But at our age, in America, when you could go bankrupt with a health care crisis with one illness, of course you want to make sure that you have health insurance. So we started going online, seeing what COBRA would cost, what our options were. In the end, it was cheaper for Steve to go on Medicare and for me to go on COBRA. We looked into ACA, Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare, And Cobra was shockingly more affordable than the ACA. That's a first. Typically, ACA with subsidies should be more affordable than Cobra. So we started to get some relief that we had that. Our biggest issue was then, of course, paying for it, especially with no income. I know many people just forego health insurance when they lose a job. We've known many people in their 50s who've lost jobs in the last year, and they just go without and hope nothing happens. We didn't feel comfortable at this age in doing that, so again, we got that insurance. Second thing was unemployment. He filed for unemployment instantly. They did try to deny him unemployment. His employer said that he made a mistake. But when unemployment asked for proof, they had no proof because he hadn't made a mistake. It was all about the tariffs, the food stamps, the health insurance going up. It was all about them trying to cut costs, and he got caught in that. So he did get unemployment. That money helps us to pay for health insurance. If you have an HSA or FSA, you can look into that and see if those two things might cover your premiums. I'm not sure if either of them did. We're going to go back and look at that in the future to get money reimbursed for that. Psychologically, we said we're going to just give each other a month. People probably wonder, why would it affect me when he lost his job? Well, we lost our routine, we lost our income, we lost our health insurance, we lost our stability, we were in complete shock. So yes, it affected me, and even affected the dogs. They noticed the change in our routine, our sleep, and things like that, and our moods as well. This is Sammy, our 1-year-old who loves being in videos, and then we have a senior, Sierra, who hates being in videos, hates having her picture taken. And at 14 and a half, we do still walk her. And some days she does very well, and some days she's struggling. She is showing her age. The next thing I felt as the spouse and the wife, that I needed to keep Steve's spirits up. I looked for fun and free things to do each week. Your library is a great source, a place to go. You cannot, not only can you read books, newspapers, magazines, they have lots of free events. We signed up for a retirement seminar at the library, and you don't even have to go, doesn't have to be your library. If you live in a small town that doesn't have a good library, you could go to any towns nearby. You don't have to actually live or be in that area, in that library. They have board games there, and you can play board games. There's a great library in Roswell that has study carols and board games, and you could go there. And we haven't done that yet, but we had considered it. So there was a seminar on meditation and music, and the retirement seminar. Additionally, you could check out books there. Books on getting along, how to deal with a job loss, what to do, or health. You've got to keep your health up. You may not have health insurance, but even if you do, your health is everything. So it's very, very important to keep your mental health well. Ironically, we got something in the mail from his previous employer saying that we're eligible for free therapy, even though he no longer works for that company. This is the first time in our entire marriage he ever got told that we could get free therapy after not working there. I thought they're probably trying to save themselves. It's not about us. They're afraid that you're going to be so angry for being fired without cause that they may think you may come back and be a little mad that they did that. We didn't take them up on that offer. I didn't want them to know anything about us and our life. As they say, it's confidential. We lost all trust in that company once they did this. I mean, Steve had so much vacation time built up, and he didn't get paid for it. They kept it all. He didn't get anything, no severance, nothing. So in addition to just being shocked and being told, this is your last day, no health insurance, no severance, no vacation pay. He did get, I suppose, maybe 1 week's vacation, but he really had about 5 or 6 weeks, I believe, saved up. So that's another thing that kind of makes you angry, in addition to losing your income and your health insurance, that you didn't get paid for that vacation time. Kind of upsets you. So you are angry, confused, tired, and you don't want to get sick. So you want to keep those emotions in check. So we played games. We played games at night, board games. We have a lot of board games here, and we would play games for 10 to 30 minutes to try to stay in a good frame of mind. We began walking and exercising. We had always done that, but with him working, it was hard. So we began going further out, going to hiking places. We went to Providence Canyon down by Columbus. And Indian seeds as well. As well as other spots. We play with Sammy and walk her. She wants constant attention and is a good one to keep you distracted. I journal, and that helps me to get my feelings out and put everything in perspective, because I'm a visual learner, so I like to see it written down and see what's going on. You can reach out to friends and family, but after a while, they don't want to hear it anymore, especially when they aren't in the same position as you. When they're in a much better position, they don't want to hear that you're struggling. So while they may be supportive at first, they may feel guilty that they didn't lose their job. Many in our family are at the retirement age, so this didn't really affect them. And within our family, Steve's lost his job more than anyone, and we've moved more often for him to get more positions. But I do know in general, people our age have gone through a series of job losses. One time I went back on, I went on Facebook, which I don't go on at all, and I looked up we moved when I was a senior in high school, and I went on Facebook and looked up a fellow student, and they had, half the school was on her Facebook, so I was able to go into all of these other students I had graduated with, and I saw that many of them had gone through a series of jobs. So don't blame yourself. This is systemic. That's what's happening for companies trying to make more and more money, as the ultimate goal is to increase shareholder wealth. You will go through a series of job losses. And you think professions like schools, that you may never lose your jobs. People did lose their jobs in the Great Recession and through COVID and again right now. Medical professionals thought they would never lose their job, but right now many of them are too losing their jobs, which is a complete shock. The next thing we did was we started to clean up things. I've been trying to do this for years, but it was hard doing this on my own. And we started to list things on Facebook. Now, I'll have to say this is a very frustrating thing. These are things we do hope to downsize one day. And so we would see what items we really didn't need, and we check out the current value, and we list it for half or less. People are not like they used to be. In the old days, they would say, I want this, and come and get it. Now, they hint around that they want me to give it to them, or they never show up. Even with setting a time to come and get it, they don't show up. So it's very frustrating. I have sold maybe $300 or $400 worth of things, which is good. Things that I don't even notice them gone. Gotten to the point now where I say it's on the front porch, put your money under the mat, and I don't care when they come. They can come whenever they want to come, take the item, and leave the money. And I've helped out people. I've sold some calculators I had from when I was teaching. I had some, and some of them were the kids' calculators. One was a $120 calculator they needed for high school that I sold for $50, and I've had a few different calculators that I've been able to sell. So you could go through your items in your house and see, don't sell things that you're going to need in the future, but we're hoping to downsize to 1 or 2 bedroom in the future. So we need to get rid of a lot of things that we've had for 10 to 30 years. So as I was going through my things, I found this book, Man's Search for Meaning. I remember reading this, but I didn't know when. Well, it has a sticker from the UT bookstore. It was $2.99. This had to be required reading. I know I never would have bought this if it weren't required. I probably had to read it for a social studies class. It was written by Viktor Frankl. He's a doctor, he's a psychiatrist and neurologist who was in a concentration camp during World War II. And you think, what is that like? How did you survive? Nothing could be worse than that. Anything we're going through today can never compare to being in a concentration camp, being starved, freezing, having to do manual labor while you're freezing and starving, and never knowing when it is your turn, when it is your last day of your life. So he talks about that even in a concentration camp, that they did have some small joys, very small. They had some shows occasionally, singing or jokes. They had small acts of kindness that people would do for each other. People would share their food or help with somebody having a medical emergency or whatnot. Of course, you're probably going to perish if you had a serious medical emergency, as there wasn't a lot that they could do. But he has a therapy he designed, logotherapy, that is based on 3 things. That one, you have to have a purpose in life, that when you reach your all-time low, as they did in this concentration camp, people who were done with life, who wanted to end their lives, he would say, you may be done with life, but life is not done with you. There was a great scientist who had to go finish his scientific studies, and he said, you have a purpose in life, you have to go do it. So number 1 is to have a purpose in life, number 2 is to have somebody to love in life, and number 3 is to have suffering in life, and that you do gain from suffering. I don't know what year he perished himself, but he was kind of alluding to that people today, or back then, the book was written, I believe, in 1955, after he got out of the camp in 1944, that people today believe that they should never suffer when suffering is a part of life. So I believe that that's what maybe the younger generation struggles with the most today, is that they don't think that they should ever have to suffer. That they look at, I know when our son graduated and got married, he got a house as big as ours and made more money than us, and he was much more comfortable than us. And to start out with what took us our entire marriage to get, I think that has challenges in itself. So he's saying that you do need to suffer in life to get through life. If you have this easy life, maybe living at home and then graduating, getting a good job. Now, I don't think that he meant suffering where all these recent graduates are unable to find work today. That's really, really challenging. I mean, I graduated in a period that was close to that, but, well, I got my teaching certificate during the Great Recession and couldn't get a job. So I understand that, but my first degree, I graduated right after tough economic times, and I was fortunate to get a position. But studies have shown if you graduate during bad economic times, you always have lower earnings for the rest of your life than people who didn't graduate during these bad times. So to recap, try to keep humor. If you're living with other people, play games, interact, read inspirational books, go hiking, get out in sunshine, get out in sunshine and nature. Maybe play with a dog. I'm not saying get a dog because dogs are pretty pricey, but if you have a dog or know of a dog, give that dog lots of attention and love, and they'll give you lots of attention and love back. Stop spending if you lost your job. Of course, you have to buy food, health insurance, things like that, maybe a car payment, whatever you have obligations for. But this was our 5th time of losing a job, so all unnecessary spending stopped, and we looked for items that we might buy. And recently to return and selling the things we have. Now, food has been really hard to cut back on. I mean, price-wise, it's been going up and up for the last several years. So that's real hard. We do keep our thermostat at a very high temperature, so it tends to be very warm in our house to keep our utilities down. Luckily, we're with a electric company that's a co-op, and as everybody else's electric bills have doubled, ours has been actually very great this summer, very, very affordable. We've looked at selling Steve's car. We've thought about it, and we were holding off for just a little bit as we were hoping he gets another job. So we haven't done that yet, but that would reduce our insurance greatly, which is a huge bill that will be coming up in the next few months. Take stock of your assets and liabilities. If you owe credit card debt or other debt, if you haven't been able to get that in control, pay off the things with the highest interest rates. Call your credit card companies, see what you can work out with them. It's a little too late once you've lost your job to think about that, but in the future, if you get it under control, you'll be better prepared for the next job loss. Because like I said, once you lose a job, I believe you're in a cycle where companies will look at you as being somebody they can lay off, and they feel a little better that they're laying you off, as opposed to getting somebody who's been with a job 20 years and they hire. I mean, that may have been the past. I know people, I've heard on YouTube and TikTok that people actually quit a job, gave 2 weeks notice, went to the new job, and that first day they said, we don't have the money, we don't have a job. How can people live with themselves doing that? This person gave a 2-week notice, gave up their job. Some of them moved and there was no job. How do people live with that? How do people live with themselves doing that to people? Keep up your health. Keep up with your teeth. Teeth are important. Your teeth health affects your other health. Continue to brush, floss. Use a water pick if you have one. Eat less sugar. During the Great Recession, I did couponing. We spent $1,000 a month for food because we had 2 grown teenagers, 2 dogs, and that was food and non-food items. And couponing was huge back then. And I got our bill down to $300 a month and had so many things left. I was able to have garage sales to sell shampoo, toothbrushes, whatever. We had a lot of toiletries. To this day, I still have things left over from over 10 years ago that I got from coupons. Not food, but toiletry items. So do what you can do. Use your strengths. I'm a visual person, so I like to write things down to get a perspective in writing. We got Sammy a year ago. Before, we had no idea this was ever going to happen. This was the job that was supposed to take us through to retirement. We thought, finally, we may be able to retire. Finally. It's been a struggle. That's one of the things that hurts me the most is when I see videos of millennials saying how easy boomers had at one job and then have a pension. Steve's had probably 10 or 15 jobs in 35 years. You gotta change health insurance, keep up your spirits. Making these videos, sometimes they make me down. I think that I've always believed when you go to a grief class or support group when somebody dies that brings you down. When my mother died, talking about it over and over again actually seemed to bring me down. So making these videos has in some way brought me down. So I've had to bring myself back up. I want to watch less TV because every day is very anxiety induced. Every day of what's gone on. I watched Parker's Permaculture, and she said exactly the same thing, that I can't speak as eloquently as her. She is a wonderful speaker, and she said how you're just filled with all these emotions and mourning and grieving the life you had. And she's not even talking about a layoff. She's talking about your life being different. And on top of that, the layoff, the loss of income, the loss of health insurance, the loss of stability, the loss of a routine. It's challenging. You should try to keep a routine, try to get up in the morning, get fully ready. I believe if you stay in your pajamas all day, you stay down all day. Get up, make your bed, get dressed, keep doing the housework, paying the bills. If you're young, get a roommate or move in with somebody, or go live back home if you're not already. And I know, I don't believe in having 2 and 3 jobs, but if, I don't know what to say. If you don't have things to sell, you don't have income, do what you have to do. Get another job. I mean, I have looked at different jobs, and people in my family wonder why I'm not getting a job. Well, because Steve worked 50 hours a week with his last job, and he was pretty stressed out. So I did everything around the house. I cut the grass, took care of the dogs. This dog that he wanted Sammy so much. He picked her out, and he said this was his dream for the last 10 years to get a Papillon. I did not want this dog. I said, I do not want a dog that whines and barks and bites. And he said, no, Papillons don't bark and bite. No, they're lap dogs. They're lap dogs. They'll comfort you. And I got her and find out he lied to me. She lied to me. She barks and bites. So I take care of Sammy. I walk her. I bathe her. I feed her. Right? Right? And I torture her by putting dresses on her and taking pictures of her. I torture her. She loves it. She comes running up here all the time wanting to come and get her picture taken or be in a video. I haven't had her in the last few because she does this. She wants to be in it, but then the treats ran out and she doesn't want to be in it anymore. And well, Sierra's downstairs moaning, wondering why she's not up here, but she won't be on camera. She will never be on camera. She turns her head if you try to take a picture of her. So my job is the one to pay the bills, keep the house, keep the lawn, be the cheerleader, organize the games, the hiking, the trips, keep the spirits up, keep our emotions up, keeping our health up, researching health conditions and what we should be doing to stay healthy, keeping our diet healthy, keeping our mental health up. So that is my job. Although I don't get paid, except in kisses, right? Except in kisses. That is my job, and I know it's not respected. I could go out and get a low-level job that will bring tremendous stress to our house, and then I found that I was a substitute teacher for 10 years doing all day subs, working in 30 schools, and I was sick quite a bit. And now with states starting to not require vaccines, well, it was bad enough getting the flu when I was subbing, which I got. I mean, overall, I'm pretty healthy, but I did get the flu one year. I would go into classes when the teacher had just thrown up all over the class and left because she had the flu, so the germs were everywhere, and luckily I didn't always get it. But when I found when I worked with kindergartners, that's when I got the sickest, when I worked with the youngest kids. So, the cost of medical, going to a doctor, getting medicines, is far more than the money I was making. It's not worth it. It's not worth it to pay more to go to the doctor and get medications and be stressed out. So that is why we decided my contribution is at home. If I had kept my career all these years, I would have been laid off by now. I wouldn't have had that career. I worked for the government. I probably would have been laid off in January. with everybody else. So I can't say I'd have this wonderful career if I had kept my job through the years. You have to accept life what it is, not look back. And I've got to, another thing, keep my spirits up. I make these beautiful, beautiful cards. I'm going to have to show those here. And one of them says, don't look back, you aren't going that way. Oh, and I was making cards for Steve to keep his spirits up.
To the city streets, we began to feel the fire. We rise like tall buildings as the chemicals they take us higher. The night's young, it has just begun. As she puts
How do we keep our spirits up? Sammy, who loves attention, loves attention. Sammy, reading books, making cards, playing games, hiking, walking, going out in sunshine. Exercising to improve health. I've gotten Steve to do that 10 to 15 minutes a night. I love her. She's from Canada. It is, I can't think of her name right now. Sammy is getting excited. She doesn't say her name. Oh, it's Jules. Jules from Improved Health. She doesn't talk a whole lot, but I just love it because she does so many different videos and they use different muscles, and that has helped with any aches and pains by continuing to use those muscles. And then I've watched a heck of a lot of YouTube, hearing everybody crying and saying how they've lost their job. That's not really keeping me positive seeing that, but it gave me a little bit of comfort knowing we weren't alone. What did they say? That I can't remember the numbers, close to something like 770,000 jobs have been lost, and I don't even know the time frame. But I know, watching YouTube, that it's systemic. I knew it wasn't Steve. He's a wonderful worker. So watch our other videos, subscribe if you like. We're not a political channel. We talk about things in aging, which covers anything in aging, anything. From diet, exercise, dogs, family, some politics, but we're not a political channel that causes too much turmoil and nasty comments that we do not like to get, and does not keep me in my good positive frame of mind. Until we see you again, take it easy.